we're getting straight into the main topic of this video today because someone had posed a really fascinating question over on the Discord, and it involved this mask. Ultimately, this would actually lead to us finding some really interesting hidden connections featuring this mask that I've never seen anybody in the community try before, and I'm honestly kind of shocked about it. This is the Gari. It's from the Hewkii Mahri set from 2007, and what makes it interesting is that it is the only mask like this. What do I mean by that? It doesn't attach in the way a normal mask does, but rather it attaches via an axle hole to the top of the head, leaving the normal connection open for your own shenanigans. And I've seen many people take advantage of this in their own ways before, but I've never seen them actually do something like this. Can you use this with other masks? Okay, here's the thing. The Gari is a top half mask, right? And LEGO has made bottom half masks before. So, of course, we had to try the Vahi. In fact, that's where the question came from. Can you combine these two masks? And as it turns out, no, it's not even close. Unfortunately, the sides of this mask, they just don't mesh with the Gari like at all. One of the things that's notable about the Gari is it has these two little connections in the front here. Those are the bane of our existence for this video because they get in the way of a lot of masks working. And it means that masks that are going to work with this need to have a couple of features for you to pay attention to. You need to have something where the chin area is kind of cut away, something like the Huna, for example, and something that kind of slants backward, upward at an angle, something like the Huna, for example. Okay, so now, of course, the first mask that came to my mind was the Huna. I had to try it, and it also doesn't work, but it's so much closer. It's maybe like a stud length away, maybe two studs. Honestly, I think if you were to try this with any of the 2001 masks with a certain amount of studs, you would ultimately be able to get something that you can land on that works and looks reasonable. But one of the 2001 masks actually does work. In fact, it was the first one I grabbed out of my mask box because it was just kind of on top. And it turns out it is the Koma. Now, this one's a resin cast, that's why it's black. Ignore that. There are some subtle differences between this and the Koma that came out in 2001. That might turn out to be important later. But notably, it turns out as well that this mask, I keep saying it turns out. Anyway, this mask works. This actually works. Well, this mask specifically, this resin cast mask. It doesn't mean that your Koma is going to work. The resin cast here, it is notable that resin behaves a little bit differently than plastic does. It has a tendency to shrink with time and obviously with the curing process. So I knew that kind of going into here. So of course I had to try it with the original Koma as well. And as it turns out, I keep saying it, this kind of works. It's a lot more finicky. It will fit inside there and it will hold itself on, but I wouldn't like put any pressure on the Gari mask itself. I wouldn't really grab this mask itself because yeah, it kind of activates the mask knockoff function of like G2, but in a more interesting way because yeah, pressing on the Gari will actually kick the mask off there. It's a very bizarre thing. I kind of love it. I tried it with all the other 2001 masks, the Noble masks, the Great masks, even the Nuva masks, the Evoki, the Krakan, and none of them worked. Maybe the closest of the Nuva masks happened to be the Miru, which is my personal favorite. I was really hoping this one would work. It unfortunately doesn't. It's a little too far away, maybe a stud, maybe two. But obviously, LEGO didn't stop producing masks in 2003, so I moved on to 2004, which actually has like 7 new masks that came out for that year. No, I guess 8, right? Because Draga Duma and LeadCon. So 8 different masks. And I really was like, okay, I know what mask like this, if any is going to work, it's going to be the Hewkii. So I tried the Hewkii. It did not work. I was really expecting it to. It's got the cutaway chin. It's got that really angular top head. But it turns out one of the 2004 masks does work. And it works really well. And it just so happens to be the Koma. Again, what are the odds that twice now we've had a Koma be the only mask from a collection that works? It's also kind of ironic, too, that all the masks that have worked with the Gari are stone masks, including the Gari. Is that not weird? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I would have loved, of course, for this mask to have been recolored in black. It never was. Of course, resin casting is going to be our best friend for that. And this is one of my favorite Metro masks. This definitely increases my favorability of it. And I am a big fan of Metro Brown with Cake Orange. So this works for me. This looks really cool. And it's worth noting that, like, yeah, of course, you can still see the eyes and everything through it. Everything still lines up. You're still using the mask connection as you would expect. Really, like, the axle isn't even sticking out, which is honestly kind of baffling to me. So, of course, I tried all of the other 2004 masks. The one I was really hoping for most was the Draga Duma mask, the Kirill, the Pakui, whatever you want to call that one. And specifically, I wanted it because this mask right here, Dakar's. Also, interestingly enough, from 2007, like this one. And Unfortunately, it doesn't work. It starts to run into those little side connections there again. It starts to collide with the mask a little bit. It's close, but it's not quite there. And if these little side protrusions weren't here, or more notably, these weren't here, this might actually work. This would look really good because it's actually the only Bionicle mask, not helmet, but mask specifically, that comes in this heat orange color, solid, like this. It looks really good with the Gari underneath it, but just does not work. And it's so unfortunate, because we were so close to getting something really cool there. We go ahead and we move into the other 2007 masks. One mask gets kind of close to working, specifically the Vol Attack, which I also have a modified version here. Don't worry too much about that. It doesn't work, but man, it really seems like it wants to almost, right? It gets pushed out of the way, and it's more so not because of the mask shape itself, but actually because the axle that sticks out of the top of the head. Now, it is worth noting that I'm using a number 3 axle inside of there that is black. You can replace this with a number 2 axle as well and just kind of leave it sticking out to one side so it continues to grip the Gari. This is not a perfect connection by any means. For one thing, you can still knock the Gari off if you hit it from one of the sides, which is very baffling. And even better than that, I actually have a bootleg 2.5 axle in Heat Orange of all colors, because go figure. And for some reason, it does not work with the Gari. It's very strange. It still fits every connection, but it falls off that as well. So once again, we go ahead, we try that Vol Attack. And it's worth noting that the Vol Attack will still hold the Gari on, but still, it just does not want to go all the way up on there. It's so close, man. It would have been so cool. And how cool actually would it have been for this to be a feature? What if LEGO had went out of their way to design other masks like the Gari that can fit beneath other masks, previous masks? Kind of think of it like the visor introduced in 2007, but now it's a full-on mask with these accessories that stick out to the side, like these blades here, or whatever you want it to be, right? That's a really cool premise. LEGO didn't do it, but man, it would have been so cool had they. But then we tried the other 2007 masks. I was not able to find anything else from 2007, or really 2006 for that matter, that worked over top of this. But when I moved into 2008, things got a little bit more interesting. 2007 introduces one mask that's a little more special than the rest. Maxillos mask. It's kind of like a how, sort of, and specifically on that mask, it doesn't actually have an axle, but rather it has an actual hole on the back side. And as it turns out, because it has an actual hole there, you can include any length of axle you want. Because of this, masks with axle holes, not all of them, but at least a few of them, will work. Notably, where did I put the extra axle? I actually had one here, specifically laying here for the sake of this video. But notably, one of the masks that I wanted to try was the Voltraz mask. And if this works, not only does it work, it looks really cool. I really like the aesthetic of that. Yeah, it's kind of silly, but like in a good way, right? Dark red and Heat Orange obviously go together. Dark red and black, Heat Orange and black, all those things go together. But one mask that almost feels like it was meant to go over the top of the Gari, almost feels like it should have gone over the Gari, feels like it would have made sense. The Ignika. 2007 is an interesting year too, because it's the first year from Bionicle's run where in the main storyline, not in a flashback or anything like that, we actually see the death of a major character, specifically Toa Matoro, rest in peace, right? And how interesting would it have been for Hewkii to have been the one to go instead? Now, I know this is silly. It's arbitrary. It could have really been any of the Toa. LEGO just had to set it up that way. But notably, the Ignika can go over the top of the Gari. It is worth noting, too, that Toa Ignika takes these colors, Heat Orange and black. Coincidence? Yeah, probably, but that's really cool, right? The idea that you could have had this mask go over Hewkii's mask, and that's just like kind of like a bonus feature. Like it's like it was designed for it. It's not perfect. Again, the axle, there's a little bit of extra space there. But again, the Ignika has an axle hole in the back of it. So any length of axle will do. And interestingly enough, the distance that the axle goes in there is perfectly enough to just reach the end. It's a very silly thing. Again, it's a coincidence, but it is kind of a wild one at the end of the day. So this is something you can do. If you own the Ignika, any version of it, whether it be gold, silver, or any of the, I would assume anyway, any of the bootleg ones as well, this should in theory work. That's a really cool reason to get those, honestly, and I may have to in the future. But of course, I had to try another mask as well, notably the, I might have just screwed myself over a little bit there, the Picari. And it does kind of work. Lastly, before I end the video, one of the other things I tried out too was one of the Beast masks. Now, this is a Beast mask I modified from Hero Factory, and it does work. I am going to unfortunately have to end the video because I'm being called in the other room. But if you guys did enjoy this, be sure to try this stuff yourself. I think it's really fascinating. I will see you all in the next one. Once again, be sure to subscribe and link for Discord down in the description below. Plus, be sure to check out the video that should come out before this one, which has to do with a project I have been working on for so long. Anyway, take care.